In the Week 3 victory over Florida Atlantic, what impressed me the most about your Clemson Tigers? The tone that they set early. And I'm going to tell you why next on the Locked On Clemson podcast.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Clemson family? Welcome back to the Locked On Clemson podcast, your daily podcast covering your Clemson Tigers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You know you can find me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I am the founder of the Scouting Room, part of the co-host team of the Locked On NFL Draft podcast, and a national scout over with the Draft Network. Guys, happy Monday, and thank y'all for tapping in. Thank you for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today and every day. Thank you for being my everydayers. And guys, we have a great show coming off a win in Week 3. My initial reaction after the game, the tone was set early. I talked about it on Friday, and we're going to talk about how they set the tone early, offensively and defensively. We had some impact plays, big impact plays from our young freshmen. We're going to get into that. And the third thing, kicking is a concern. Dabo got to get it figured out. But before we can get into any of that, today's episode of Locked On Clemson has been brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Setting the tone. That was my first, I think that was the first segment on Friday. And now watch the first play of the game. The tone was set. Clemson came out and listen, man, I talked about it. Was it the first play? No, I'm sorry. It wasn't the first play because I think they ran the ball and everything on the first couple plays. Incomplete pass, another run. It was the second pass, the fourth play of the game, second pass of the game from their own 38. Nate Wiggins, 46-yard interception, pick six. You talk about setting the tone. Scoring on defense on the first drive in the first 4 plays. That's how you set the tone. And you, if you watch the game, and if you want to go back to YouTube, I'm pretty sure they have the highlights of that game and the clip of that interception. Listen to the crowd. Watch the adulation, the excitement from the teammates in the bench. Right? Everybody was live and hype. That's how you set the tone. Your house, you have one of the coldest entrances, one of the best entrances in college football. A night game in Death Valley is not something that opposing teams should look forward to. So you want to give the crowd a reason to be hyped, a reason to be awake, and a reason to lose their voice that night, right? And Nate Wiggins did that to start that game. But it wasn't just that, right? The next drive, they punted. Then Clemson goes down in less than 4 minutes, 9 plays, 79 yards, touchdown. Now you up 13 to 0. And it was 13 because Robert Gunn missed a PAT. We'll talk about that later. Now next drive, turnover on downs, 4 plays. Clemson goes down. They got the opportunity, kick a field goal. Robert Gunn missed the field goal. Then next drive, 1st and 10 from their 20. Casey Thompson intercepted. Guys, I'm telling you now, listen to me. That's how you set the tone. I felt like the line of scrimmage, defensively, there was only I think there was 2 sacks, I think, from our defense. But when you look at the total yards, right? Total yards, they only scored 14 points. Those were in the fourth quarter against third string. All right, whatever. They had 293 total yards, 210 passing yards, 46 attempts, 4.6 yards per pass, 3 interceptions thrown. I said I wanted the stars to be stars. I wanted the defense to stand up and really make the back-breaking plays for the opposing offense that we all know they could, and they did that. They did that, man. I'm telling you now, guys, I felt like I was really happy watching this game because they did exactly what I wanted them to do for the most part. They did exactly what I wanted them to do because I wanted them to be dominant. Nate Wiggins, Wade Wooders, Khalil Barnes, these guys were out there making plays. Wade Wooders almost had a pick six himself. He took it back almost 60 yards. But you know what I'm saying? Justin Maskell, the defensive line, was putting pressure. That's why these quarterbacks are having to get the ball out. It's because of the fact that they were feeling the pressure of the defensive line, man. So you think about everything we talked about Friday, guys, family, everything we discussed, the attitude, the setting the tone, right? Being focused, all those things, check mark. All those things were done. I felt like they were super focused. The tone, they set the tone early defensively, right? And what did I say? To play a clean game, right? All those things we talked about. I think was what Wednesday and Friday had to come together. Play focus, set the tone, play aggressive, play smart, and play clean. And they did that, right? No self-inflicted wounds with turnovers early in the game to give a subpar inferior opponent any hope. It was no, I'm going to step on your throat and you can't deal with it. You can't get me off of you. All right. I'm going to give you rib shots. You know, I'm not even going to try to give you just a straight right hook and knock you out like Tyson. No, I want to give you a couple body blows, right? I want to throw off some of the nervous system. I want to mess up a kidney. I want you to feel this, right? So the physicality was there, defensively, offensively as well, man. And I was really, really pleased by this team. All right, that's what impressed me the most. They set the tone early. They didn't linger. They didn't play around. What's the phrase in young kid? Don't play with your food. They didn't play with their food. They didn't worry about unlike the opponent next week. They didn't look ahead. You know, I feel like the opponent, we're going to talk about that this week. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, Florida State game versus Boston College. We're going to get into that because it feels like somebody else was looking ahead to us. But we didn't look ahead to them. And that's what I wanted to see was that laser focus. And Cade was good. And no, were the numbers outstanding? No, 16 of 27, 169 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was good. You know what I'm saying? And he made the right plays, making plays with his legs. I think he had a rushing touchdown as well. He had 6 for 35 on the ground and a rushing touchdown. Excuse me. So he made the plays that you wanted to see him make. And he was, made a concerted effort. Right. And I feel like he's starting. I felt like in that game, you started to see things slow down a little bit for him because he was reacting quicker, in my opinion, where I think that scramble for 16 where he almost scored, where he drops back and he doesn't like what he sees. Right. And then he improvises and he makes the play and he nearly scores a touchdown by making that play with his legs. But the first 2 games, that wasn't the case. It was drop back, scan. I don't know. I don't like what I see. Prayer or sack or fumble or whatever. And he put the ball, up for grabs and those aren't the things you want. Right. So I think that's probably the big thing for me, guys, is that the tone was set early and it impressed me the most. Cade Klubnik, Antonio Williams was getting into the passing game early, especially. I felt like he would have had a much bigger game if he didn't, get banged up early. He ended up coming back, but, they tried to, start getting ball to Cole Turner, Jake Brenningstool, Garrett Riley. I want to get through the all 22 when it comes out, guys, but I think Garrett, I'm going to do the film session again. Throw it up on the Patreon, so you guys go subscribe to that. I'll put it in the community chat and everything. But I think Garrett Riley did a good job calling that game. I like the variety. I like the different guys that they threw the ball to and getting the ball and getting the different people involved, right? Adam Randall, Tyler Brown, all that, man. We're going to get into him in a little bit, but I like what I saw. Jake Brenningstool had a touchdown. I just want to see these things continue, guys. I want to see it continue. But you want to know what? You want to know what else impressed me? Talk about recapping that game. The impact from our young freshmen, TJ Parker, Tyler Brown, big-time plays by big-time young players. And we're going to talk about them next on the Locked On Clemson podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Clemson is sponsored by BetterHelp. Guys, do you ever find that you're just trying to fall asleep, but your brain is suddenly just racing and it won't stop talking to you? Do your thoughts race right before bed or at any other inopportune time or moment? I know that feeling, and I can promise you it's not a good one because it makes you tired. You're stressing and dealing with thoughts that try to bring on depression and other negative feelings, guys. But therapy helps. I started therapy. I've talked to counselors, and just being able to have someone that's objective, non-biased, that just really cares about my personal mental health. It helps a lot. All right. Just being able to talk to that person and get feedback. And it's like I said, it's subjective. There's nothing tied to it. So I promise you guys, if you think about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. All right, get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnCollege today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp HELP.com/LockedOnCollege. Freshman impact. The second thing that impressed me in my takeaway from this game just right after it's over is the freshman impact, the impact from the young guys, right? And I got to go to the offensive side of the ball. Well, first, let's go to the defense, right? Let's start with the defense, man. And a guy that's shown up in all three games in some way, shape, or form, and that is freshman edge rusher TJ Parker. 3 tackles, a tackle and a half for loss, right? 1.5 tackles for loss and a sack. This young man, I'm telling you now, guys, he is a problem, and he's playing really good football. All right, for a young guy, really good football. Okay, and I just appreciate that from a guy and I think we talked about it, right? I believe we talked about how we expected him to be a kind of a constant fixture in a sense, and playing a decent amount of snaps. He's played 75 through 3 weeks, 42 pass rushing snaps, 30 on the run, right? He's dropped in the coverage about 3 times or whatever, but even in this game, in the run game, he had 3 run stops himself, okay, 2 hurries, right? And that sack, and just watching him work into the backfield, the quickness, the strength that he plays with, and he's 6'4", 255, and again, he's like 17, 18 years old. So he's the future, right? You know what I'm saying? When you lose a Miles Murphy and KJ Henry, you have a young man that's coming up and through the weeds. He's growing up. He's growing up, and like just said, just continuously impressing me and impacting the game. Right, because yes, Justin Maskell, who was good. Justin Maskell was good. He got some pressures. Xavier Thomas, those guys are the elder statesmen in this edge rusher room. But TJ Parker is a mainstay, and he's going nowhere. I expect his snaps to continue to increase. Actually, as the season goes on. Matter of fact, let me look here. His snaps have increased every game. Right. And it's kind of slow playing it, but it's like 3 more snaps each game. Week 1 against Duke, 22 snaps. Week 2 against Charleston Southern, 25 total snaps. And then against FAU, 28 total snaps, right? So, and what's crazy, I'm going to tell you why I'm really impressed by this young man, and why I feel like the team views him very highly. Besides the Duke game, right? It's his first game of the season against 2 inferior opponents. You would assume if he was guy that they needed to get more reps, a guy they felt like they needed to get more playing time with the 2s and 3s, he would be in the game longer when the game gets out of hand. Actually, when the game gets out of hand and the stars get pulled out, guess who also doesn't see the field again? TJ Parker, because he's been making the impacts and he's been impressing not just me, but this coaching staff. This young man is talented, man, and I am excited for his future here in Death Valley. Kid puts up so much effort. Like I said, we know that he's athletic. He has the prototypical size, 6'4", 255, but he knows how to use his wingspan, his arm length to his advantage. He knows how to convert speed to power. He knows how to get into the backfield and disrupt quarterbacks. And I absolutely love to see it. You love to see it, all right? You love to see it. This young man has 5 hurries and pressures in these 3 games, and 2 QB hits and a sack already in 3 contests. So shout out to him. But man, Tyler Brown, okay? Can we talk about Tyler Brown, the young freshman wide receiver. And what I love is that when Antonio Williams went down, okay, when Antonio Williams went down early in that game, after he was having success in getting open, they threw Tyler Brown into the slot. 3 for 3. 3 targets, 3 receptions, 49 yards, 16 yards per reception, 2 touchdowns. And yes, he's predominantly in the slot, but you like what you saw, the speed, the quick twitch, the break at the top of his route on the first touchdown, stretching vertically, right? Putting that, I think it was a safety or nickel playing off coverage, putting pressure on them by stretching right up to right into their airway, breaking towards the middle of the field on the post route, and Cade just lobbing it up. Kind of fade away because he had pressure, and I think it was from the right side, and just kind of fading away and dropping it right in the bucket. And he tracked it well, and I like the fact, the spatial awareness. This is a young man, young kid, right? Young man, and the spatial awareness for him to not only win it, like I said, it's not just good enough to win the route and all that stuff like that, but the spatial awareness as he's tracking the ball, and to kind of slow yourself down so you don't run out of the end zone, right? To where that play isn't made. That touchdown doesn't count because you're out of bounds. So I appreciate that, him just being able to slow it and control his body, watch it over the shoulder, boom, right into the bread basket, a dime throw from QB1, and the outstanding play by the young freshman receiver, man. The freshman, man, TJ Parker, Tyler Brown. I think we're going to see more and more of Tyler. I want to see more and more of Tyler Brown. I think, especially with Cole Turner, I'm not really sure what the extent of the injury that he suffered in the game, right? It looked like I don't know if it was like his wrist or hand, not sure what it was. But for him, man, praying that he's good to go, because Dabbles really wants him to break out, because this young man, he is fast, he's explosive, big body, especially from that vertical ability, that verticality that he brings to, he would probably be the best jump ball guy. He is the best jump ball guy on the team. So I think that's an element that we're missing with the deep ball to him, and the back shoulder fades to him, and just the fade routes to him that we can get, and hopefully he's ready to go sooner rather than later. But guys, I'm telling you right now, the freshmen made impacts. They impressed me. Tyler Brown, and don't get it wrong, yes, he did have a fumble, whatever, but it's fine, it's cool. I think for me, it's like just watching him, there's a confidence with this young man. And there's a confidence. You can see when young players step on the field and they're not scatterbrained, right? They're not scatterbrained. They're not all over the place, right? He knows what routes to run. He knows how to run them. He knows how to get open, and he does it at a high level. He does it at a good level. I'm impressed by these young freshmen, guys. You should be too. You should be very impressed by TJ Parker, freshman edge rusher, and Tyler Brown, freshman wide receiver, because I think that these two young men are going to have much bigger roles as this season goes on. Maybe next week against Florida State, we see more of them as well. I don't know. We'll see, but I would not be surprised, because I'm pretty sure that Tyler Brown is also our kick returner, if I remember correctly. You know what I mean? So, no, he's the punt returner. I'm assuming Kelly and Jarvis Green are the 2 kick returners. Tyler Brown and Antonio Williams are the 2 punt returners. So you think about this young man. I'm telling you, I don't know if I don't want Antonio Williams back there. I really want Tyler Brown back there. The reason why is because I want Antonio Williams to stay healthy and to stay, just be ready to go when the offense comes on the field. I think Tyler Brown could be a field flipper, right? A momentum shifter for our offense if he's out there fielding those punts. So we're going to see how things goes. But freshman impacts, Tyler Brown, TJ Parker, stand up, guys. You guys did a great job versus the Florida Atlantic Owls. But what's the one thing that I didn't like, and this continued to rear its ugly head? The kicking game. It's a flat out concern. Robert Gunn, and I try to be nice about this thing, guys. I really am, because this is a freshman himself. No, not freshman. He's I think he's a freshman. You know what I mean? So young kid, listen, I want to believe in you. They said you hit a 70-yard in practice, all that good stuff. But if you can't hit anything, we're going to get into that. If you can't hit anything else, you're no good to us. So I'm going to tell you why the kicking game still concerns me, coming up next on the Locked On Clemson podcast. Now, time for your game changer of the week, brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. Much like wide receiver Tyler Brown, Athletic Brewing has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. Tyler Brown is my game changer of the week because he's coming off a game where he was one of the leaders in receiving and caught 2 touchdowns versus Florida Atlantic. Athletic Brewing Company, their brews are great tasting and award winning. They beat out full strength beers in global competitions. They brew over 50 styles of craft, non-alcoholic beers, including IPAs, Goldens, sours, and so much more. Okay, guys, so much more. And you're going to just love it. You love that you can find Athletic in store, online, and at bars around the country. So you can find those Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic beers at a store near you, or you can go and buy them at athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers can use the code LOCKED ON to get 15% off your first order. And now for the last thing to talk about, the thing that I wasn't impressed with and I am extremely concerned about, the kicking game. Robert Gunn III, something has gotta give, right? And you're trying to figure things out. You're trying to get to a place where you're comfortable, right? Dabo talked about this kid in camp, in fall camp. He talked about how this young man is he's got a big leg. He can make those 60, 70-yard kicks, which they had an opportunity against Duke before the half, and he turned that down. So you think about what we saw against Duke. He was 0 for 2. He had 1 blocked, right? And then he shanked another. Against Charleston Southern, he was 1 for 1. He made all 7 extra points. But in this game, right, against Florida Atlantic, what did he do? Robert Gunn was 0 of 1 for field goals, so he missed another, and he missed an extra point. And you say, well, DP, it's Florida Atlantic. Does that really? No, it matters. The reason it matters is because all points matter. You need points. You need all the points you can get. So you think about getting in close games where the kicking game, right? Say it's what we just watched Colorado, for those who stayed up, right? And they were able to drive down, and score a touchdown. But what if you can't get into the end zone? But it's a 1-point game, but you get into field goal range. But if you're not confident in your kicker, it doesn't matter. Because if you're not confident your kicker can make those kicks, it's going to disrupt everything. Then when the game's on the line, you can't win. So Robert Gunn III, I don't care how big his leg is, they need to find a way to get his confidence up. And if he can't figure this out right now, you got to look at other options, because this is a concern. You don't want to be going into halftime, right? Game tied, you get in the field goal range, you got 4 seconds left, and it's a 30-yarder, and he shinks it. And then you lose by 3 or you lose by 2. You don't want to be in those situations with a kicker that can't make the necessary kicks. So, and then missing extra points that is unacceptable. It's an extra point. We just scored a touchdown. We should not be up 13-0. We should be up 14-0. Those points, missing those kicks, extra points, and field goals, he's missed. Again, let's look at it now. Let's talk about it. He missed 2 against Duke, right? 2 field goals he missed against Duke. That's 6 points. Missed a field goal against Florida Atlanta. That's 9 points. Missed an extra point. Right? So he's allowed through 3 games. He's allowed 10 points. He left on the field. Got to be better, man. Got to be better. All right. I talked about it during the Duke loss. You make those 2 field goals, okay? Like, this game is a little different, and the tide is swinging. And you know what I'm saying? But yes, the turnovers, I get it from the offense, stuff like that. But still, these guys were pressing because even when they were pressing to score because he couldn't make a kick. So he got it. Listen, the kid is clearly talented, physically gifted, has a big leg, all that good stuff. But if he can't make these kicks, Dion pulled his kicker. A kicker who actually was making kicks for him. Jace Feely, I think it's Jay Feely, retired NFL kicker. Jay Feely's son, I think that's his son. Dion said, okay, nope, I got another kicker here. We're going to, in the same game, dude shanked it, right? The offense was struggling to score points, shanked it to the left, right? Low kick, shanked it. What did Dion do? He pulled him. And then he put the kicker he brought from Jackson State. And the kid not only made, I think, he made like 2-3 kicks in that game. You know what I mean? So it's those type of things. Because at the end of the day, I always talk about basketball. I always compare basketball to football. If your offense is struggling, to get 3, it's better to get 0, because it's just like shooting the free throw, getting the easy layup, right? To see the ball go in the cup, to see the ball go in the hoop, it gives you some confidence. Whew, I'm not playing my best game, but I just scored. We're not having our best offense, but we just scored. We don't have that luxury right now until Robert Gunn III figures out how to make these kicks, or they yank him and put somebody else in. And I truly believe that should be the case, because we cannot have this young man cost us a game if it's a close game versus Florida State, because if Boston College can make it a close game, dear God, I believe that we can too. But that's our show, guys. We just went over the Tigers win versus Florida Atlantic. You got the kicking concern that I'm really concerned about with Robert Gunn III and his inability to hit these kicks. Freshman impact with TJ Parker and Tyler Brown. And then the offense and defense, the entire team opened up that game to set the tone early. So, guys, thank y'all so much for tapping in with me and making Locked On Clemson your first listen today and every day. Thank you for being my everydayers, man. Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available on YouTube. For the algorithm, comment, talk to me, because I do talk back. Like these videos, man. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. But if you're an audio person, do the same thing. All right, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, download, hit automatic downloads, leave a 5-star commented review, and let's push this podcast up the charts. And I would always tell you guys, on YouTube especially, let's get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. Let's do it. Push it up, push it up, push it up. Let's get there, especially heading into Florida State week. We're going to have a great time this week, guys. But as always, listen, when the film comes out, I'm going to break down what I saw, to mix in some numbers, have a film breakdown for you guys as well on the Patreon account. So I'll keep you posted on that once the All 22 hits my line. You feel me? But other than that, guys, you know where you can find me on Twitter at DP_NFL. Talk to me, because I do talk back. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Go Tigers.